All right, so imagine for a second that you could redesign society, literally from the ground up. Today, we're diving into this explainer to look at a genuinely fascinating social experiment that is trying to do exactly that, and we're going to weigh it against a rather surprising poetic warning from the 1970s. Our current institutions can feel incredibly rigid, almost like they were built for a world that just doesn't exist anymore. So what actually happens when the brightest minds in technology decide to just step outside of those structures to prototype something completely new? Well, you get this massive clash between high-tech utopian visions and this age-old human desire for grounded, simple authenticity. Take a look at this absolute light bulb moment from a guy named Mark Tinaway. He's the co-founder of OpLabs. After attending one of these gatherings, he had this profound realization. Our current communities are just nowhere near the best that civilization has to offer. By applying first principles thinking, he argues that, we can dramatically improve our quality of life. Which brings us to a really massive question. How do we actually build the perfect society? And maybe more importantly, who gets to design it?
Enter Edge City. They actually call themselves a society incubator. So think of it kind of like a startup accelerator, like Y Combinator, but instead of funding a software app, you are beta testing a brand new society. This whole idea was born out of the Zuzalu experiment, which started in Montenegro back in 2023. And now Edge City hosts these 1 to 2 month pop-up villages all across the globe. They bring together frontier builders to live, work, and literally prototype the future in real life. The goal? To accelerate human flourishing in this really dense, dedicated environment. And to be clear, these are not just boring corporate conferences. They're actual lived-in villages that have popped up everywhere from Patagonia to the coast of India. And they run on 4 main pillars. First up is default healthy living. So basically, no more sad desk lunches, right? Second is multidisciplinarity. You might have an AI researcher brainstorming with an urban planner over their morning coffee. Third is co-creation, meaning you are there to build things, not just passively sit and listen to panels. And finally, they are multi-generational. The whole point is to break people out of their isolated default routines and foster deep holistic collaboration.
Okay, but who is actually building this? I mean, the talent density here is staggering. You've got operational masterminds, folks like Zuzalu architect Yanine Leisure and venture capitalist Timur Kosters. But they're also joined by absolute heavyweights. We're talking Ethereum founder Vitalik Buterin and Audrey Tang, the former digital minister of Taiwan. You are essentially putting elite cryptographers, biotech pioneers, and sovereign-level governance experts into the exact same pop-up village.
Now here's a crucial point. They aren't seceding to build some isolated doomsday commune. That's not it at all. They're taking what they call a micro-exit. It's a temporary departure from traditional society. Why do that? Well, because beta testing, a radically new health protocol or a new governance model, is nearly impossible in the legacy world. By temporarily exiting, these innovators get a high-trust user base to test their ideas out immediately. Beat that cold start problem, The ultimate goal is to bring those proven, upgraded systems back to mainline society, which eventually impacts the technology and governance that everyday people will use.
But you might be wondering, how do they make sure this doesn't just devolve into reckless techno-capitalism? They rely on a guiding philosophy known as DAC. That stands for Defensive, Decentralized, or Differential Acceleration. Popularized by Vitalik Buterin, this framework is basically about hitting the gas on technologies that protect and empower humanity while deliberately hitting the brakes on tech that centralizes power or creates massive asymmetric risks. So it's an optimistic but highly deliberate blueprint for innovation.
So in practice, what does this look like? It means these builders are pushing the frontier in 2 distinct realms. Over in the digital world of bits, they're accelerating things like privacy tools, cryptography, and AI alignment. Meanwhile, in the physical world of atoms, they are literally building resilient off-grid energy systems and proactive biosecurity networks. It's this complete synthesis of digital and physical flourishing, prototyped in real time. Okay, now I want us to take a massive pivot. To truly understand these high-tech utopian visions, we are going to look at them through a surprisingly different historical lens. A 1970s folk song by Don McLean called Castles in the Air. McLean's song actually provides this striking metaphorical contrast. On one side, we have these ambitious, floating, future-focused constructs, and on the other, a grounded, natural, pastoral life. Written during the immense social upheaval of 1969, McLean's lyrics perfectly capture a generation that was just exhausted by an artificial, detached lifestyle. The narrator states it so clearly, "I'm tired of castles in the air, and castle walls just lead me to despair." He is actively rejecting a curated, high-status urban technocracy because he's searching for something far simpler and way more grounded.
If we look through McLean's metaphor, the castle isn't this beautiful dream to achieve. It's an emotional fortress of industry and noise to escape. The song critiques the cocktail generation, a time where belonging felt more like a performance. Sound familiar at all? It's a lot like the irony of escaping society just to network with venture capitalists. He longs for hills of forest green, which really forces us to ask, does elite ambition and endless networking come at the severe cost of true human connection? And that brings us right to the core tension, the edge city paradox. When an elite cohort of tech founders sets up a highly curated village, we see this fascinating clash. The ambitious tech utopian dream directly intersects with McLean's warning. In fact, sources note that in places like Healdsburg, the sudden arrival of these tech cohorts sometimes created real friction with the local working-class realities. It's the elite cocktail generation physically rubbing up against the desire for natural, established roots. So we really have to ask ourselves, are edge cities micro-exits genuinely building grounded, family-friendly communities that will benefit humanity? Or, by gathering the global elite in these exclusive spaces, do they risk becoming just another performative castle in the air, totally detached from local realities? It is literally the ultimate tension between a top-down technological dream and a bottom-up organic reality. Look, the edge city movement is undeniably one of the absolute boldest social experiments of our time. But as these elite builders prototype our future, we have to wonder, are they truly escaping the old, rigid hierarchies? Or are they just recreating them with a sleek, brand-new high-tech aesthetic? Does this dream lead humanity back to life, or does it just build another castle? The future they are prototyping today might very well be the one we all live in tomorrow. Thanks for exploring this with us.